Yo, we made it to Edinburgh from London King's Cross, and we took the first class LNER train. Took about 4.5 hours to get to Edinburgh, and we mention first class because we unfortunately have to start this video off a little bit negatively because the first class on the LNER was really not worth it. It was about $250 per person, and it includes a meal and drinks and whatnot, but the meal was not that much food, and after we ate the meal we were still super hungry, and even after we basically begged for more food, they gave us some more food, but we were still hungry even after that. But now we are in Edinburgh and it's beautiful here, so can't complain. The reason why we feel so strongly about complaining about the train ride is because we're trying to hike up to Arthur's Seat, and now we're super hungry still, and it's a long hike, so we're feeling a little bit bad about it. The other thing with the first class seats on the train is that there's only the individual seats on the side, and those are the only comfortable seats. The other seats are tables of 4, and your leg room is a lot less because you're trying to avoid the other person's leg in front of you. The train thing is now in the past. We are now hiking up Arthur's Seat, and the view is beautiful on the way up. Today is a great day for us to hike up Arthur's Seat because it's the only day that we can pretty much guarantee that there's going to be no rain. Even if you don't get all the way up, the view from 80% of the way up is still very beautiful. If you are able to endure the strenuous hike all the way up to Arthur's Seat, it's definitely worth going all the way rather than just 80 or 90% of the way, because all the way at the summit it's a 360 view and it's very, very windy and it feels like you're flying. This is definitely a hike that you should do on a dry and preferably sunny or nice day, because if it's wet, the rocks probably get super slippery. Walking distances in Edinburgh can be deceptive because something might seem like it's close by, but it's up a hill, so it takes longer. After our long hike up to Arthur's Seat, we got dinner at Petit Paris. It's a cute little French restaurant, and we got the steak with the pepper sauce and the mussels and also the lemon tart. All of them were very good, and the price wasn't that bad. Our first impressions of Edinburgh so far are very positive. It just reinforces Claire's love of the United Kingdom. Basically, she loves everything about London, and also now in Edinburgh, she really loves Edinburgh as well. So we're having a really good trip. Good morning from Edinburgh. This is day 2, and we're gonna head to Edinburgh Castle today, so hopefully it's gonna be a nice day. Edinburgh Castle is more of a war and battle focused tourist attraction, so we didn't really spend that much time there. We spent maybe like an hour and a half, and then it started raining, so we hid in some stores, and then we went to go get some lunch at a Vietnamese restaurant where we got some pho and some fried chicken, and overall it was a pretty decent meal. It wasn't very authentic or anything, but it tasted okay. We also went to a dessert and brunch restaurant in the mall called Hot Dochi, and it was very good because we got the croffles, which is kind of like Dubai chocolate style, along with a tropical paradise ice cream with some fruit, and both of the desserts were very good, and we were pleasantly surprised. Excuse the windy situation here. It's very windy, and it was raining for a little while ago. Now the weather is hopefully cooperating. Yeah, in general, Edinburgh gets very windy, as we experienced on top of the Arthur's Seat yesterday. And now we are headed towards Dean Village, I believe. It's a nice little area. I have to say that Edinburgh feels very touristy. Most of the people we come across in the city seem like they're just visiting, and most of the city on the main streets are just filled with shopping and restaurants and that kind of stuff. So otherwise it's very beautiful. The walk to Dean Village is very nice, and also there's a water of leaf walkway, we believe. It's a kind of a little hike, and it's also very beautiful and very peaceful. There are surprisingly very few tourists in this area. I mean, there are some, but it's not very crowded. So if you want a break from all of the shopping and all the people walking on the main city streets, come around to Dean Village to take a break. We're not sure how long this trail is in total, but we've been walking for about 15 minutes now, and it's beautiful throughout the whole hike so far. We're still walking on the Water of Leaf walkway, and we highly recommend this hike if you have a sunny or even a dry day. It's a beautiful hike, and the wind, the breeze, the birds chirping in the June time, everything about this hike is very beautiful, with the greenery and the sound of the water. It really brings us to the natural beauty of Edinburgh and Scotland. After trying to figure out what to eat tonight, we decided that we're just gonna buy a steak from the supermarket and cook it at home to save some money. Alright, it's our last full day in Edinburgh, and the weather is still a little bit windy and cold and slightly sprinkly. So today we're going to be headed towards the National Museum of Scotland and spending some time there, and the rest of the day is pretty much free, so we're just going to be cruising around, checking out stores and that kind of stuff. Last night we did end up cooking our own steak dinner, and it only ended up costing about $8 per person, which is a lot lower than what it would have cost if we had eaten out, obviously. We find that the cost of groceries in Edinburgh is lower than the cost of the groceries we saw in London, so that's nice. The National Museum of Scotland is a great place to spend a few hours escaping from the rain. We spent probably 2 hours there exploring the 6 floors of exhibits, and there are some interactive exhibits that we also enjoyed. We are now on our way to get some fish and chips to compare to the amazing fish and chips that we had in London. So we'll see how the fish and chips are here in Edinburgh. We ended up getting fish and chips at Chipsy King's. It's a very small hole-in-the-wall fish and chips restaurant with only standing area and no seats. But we were very impressed with the fish and chips there. They were as good as any other fish and chips that we've had anywhere else, including the one that we ate in London. Up next, we're going to be headed towards our only afternoon tea experience at the Signet Library in Edinburgh. It is actually a very expensive afternoon tea experience, costing around $95 per person. But before we head to that afternoon tea experience, we're gonna head towards the Botanical Gardens in Edinburgh and check it out. Since this is our last full day in Edinburgh, we want to highlight our most memorable experiences here, which include the hike to Arthur's Seat and also the hike down the Water of Leaf walkway. Overall, we really enjoy Edinburgh. It is very touristy. Most of the people that you encounter in Edinburgh are tourists or visitors, but the city is very beautiful. Similar to London, we enjoy the more peaceful, more suburban areas of Edinburgh because of the greenery and the scenery and the buildings. Most of the touristy areas on the main streets don't really have that many trees, so they're not as beautiful as some of the smaller streets. We are really enjoying our walk towards the Botanical Gardens. It's very peaceful and there's not that many tourists, and it's a lot of green trees. The Botanical Gardens in Edinburgh is a good place to hang out. It's essentially a huge park with benches and a lot of green space. There are also beautiful flowers, obviously, and a lot of trees and a lot of stuff to see. It's pretty big. We just just finished afternoon tea at the colonnades at the Signet Library, and it's essentially a very fancy tasting menu of savory and sweet little bites along with some afternoon tea. It costs about $104 per person, which is very expensive. The library is definitely a beautiful place to have afternoon tea. However, it's hard for us to say if it's worth it because it is $104 per person, and you do come prepared to be with an empty stomach because there's a lot of food, so after the end of the meal you're pretty much full. The afternoon tea really wasn't friendly to us yesterday because of the strong tea. We weren't able to sleep well last night, so that's one of the consequences of drinking caffeine later in the day, especially when you are caffeine lightweight like us. Right now we are headed towards to get a full English breakfast for real this time because we tried to get some in London, but it wasn't an official full English breakfast. So now we're headed towards the Blackfriars larder to get some breakfast. So we ended up getting the full Scottish breakfast at the Blackfriars larder. Overall, the meal was pretty good. Personally, I prefer the breakfast that we had in London, but Claire also likes the one that we had today. So both of us have different preferences, but overall the breakfast was good. And we also got a matcha latte, which really didn't taste like matcha at all. It was mostly milk flavored, so that was a negative. But overall, there aren't very many breakfast choices in Edinburgh, so this is one of them, and it's one of the only ones that you can go. This is our last morning in Edinburgh, so we really enjoyed our 3-night stay here, and we could have easily spent another night in Edinburgh because we missed out on some of the museums, and also right now we're gonna hike up to Carlton Hill since it's a nice beautiful sunny day, so enjoy some of these beautiful views from Carlton Hill. We are now up here on Carlton Hill. It's a pretty short hike from the bottom of the city, and it's really not as nice of a hike or a walk compared to Arthur's Seat, but it is a very nice view and easily accessible compared to Arthur's Seat. And that concludes our time in Edinburgh. Hope you enjoyed our little vlog, and I'll see you next time.